She danced the tango against all odds, and what happened next transformed their lives forever. Ella stood in the dim diner, wiping down the counter for what felt like the 100th time that night. Each clink of the plates echoed her thoughts, a constant reminder of the bills stacked high on the kitchen table at home. The weight of responsibilities sat heavily on her shoulders, suffocating her dreams even as her heart ached for a reprieve. Raising Sarah alone had turned her into a soldier of survival. But lately, exhaustion had seeped into her bones, and every long shift felt like another stake driven into the fragile edifice of her ambition. When she glanced at the faded radio perched in the corner, the upbeat tango music that filled the diner sparked a flicker of joy amid her daily drudgery. It was an echo of a life she once dared to imagine, a life full of movement, rhythm, and passion. But could she still find a way back to that dream after all the heartbreak and hustle? Her heart fluttered uncomfortably. Sarah's laughter brought her solace, yet she was plagued by the constant fear that she wasn't enough for her spirited daughter. Would tango be a step too far, a foolish distraction from the harsh reality of their lives? Each day at the diner, Ella felt the stares of judgment. She was no longer just Ella, the single mother. She was the woman who needed to be realistic, who needed to focus on what really mattered. Then, one cold Thursday evening, she spotted a poster taped to the community center's door. A tango class. The ink on the paper seemed to glow with possibility. Heart racing, she hesitated. What would the wealthy studio owner think if she stepped out on that floor? Would they ridicule her mismatched shoes, her used-up apron? Ella swallowed hard as the crushing self-doubt rolled in. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The thought of dancing, of being under the spotlight, sent waves of anxiety rolling through her. She imagined her skin prickling with discomfort, eyes boring into her, their unwelcoming judgment suffocating her passion. But then, she thought of Sarah's drawings peppered with exuberant colors. "Go, Mommy!" they screamed in childish scrawl. A small smile touched her lips as her heart wrestled with hope and fear. Taking that step onto the dance floor would either ignite her spirit or confirm her worst fears. What if she fell flat? As the gala loomed closer, Ella could feel the weight of the town's skepticism creeping in closer to her chest, constricting her breath. Those soft whispers surrounding her felt sharp enough to cut, and doubt gnawed at her soul. Could she really stand against the polished dancers who grew up bathed in opportunities she had never known? Would their sneering laughter drown out the music in her heart before she took her first step? The night of the gala arrived, and the scent of polished wood and fresh flowers filled her with trepidation. She could hear the distant echo of the music starting, and felt the coolness of the shadows behind the curtains. And there she stood, ready to step into the light. But just moments before her name was called, a dark shadow flickered in her mind, a glimpse of that studio owner with her disdainful gaze, poised to judge her every move. Panic coursed through her veins as time suspended. She was on the precipice of a decision that could change everything. Would she embrace the music, the dance, the opportunity awaiting her, or would she retreat into the shadows of her fears? The applause echoed through the hall as Ella stood frozen, paralyzed by the daunting prospect before her. Her heart raced, pounding like the vibrant beat of the tango in her head. The music swelled, a siren call teasing her with visions of twirling skirts and passionate embraces. Yet the fear surged back with ferocity. What if she faltered? What if she collapsed under the weight of her own inadequacy? But looked more closely, and beneath the veneer of doubts she discovered an ember of determination. It burned bright, ignited not only by her yearning, but by the image of Sarah, vibrant with life. In that moment, her love for her daughter transcended the crippling fear threatening to consume her. Ella clenched her fists, feeling the resolve harden within her. She couldn't let the world's judgment define her. It was time to rewrite her narrative. Taking a deep breath, she peeked through the curtain just a sliver. Artists adorned in elegant attire floated effortlessly across the dance floor, exuding confidence and grace she longed to embody. They were everything she feared she could never be, yet something shifted within her. Perhaps fear could be transformed into her greatest ally. With each beat of music, Ella found herself questioning her assumptions, peeling back the layers of self-doubt. Why had she ever thought she didn't belong? Why had she built her own prison made of expectations and comparisons? The truth began to crystallize. Everyone's journey was unique, and those polished dancers had their own battles. They too had once struggled to find their space in this world. Finally, as names were called and dancers took to the floor, Ella stepped back, feeling the cool touch of the wall behind her. The shadows that had seemed menacing now cocooned her in anonymity. The sudden rush of adrenaline sent waves through her body, and she realized what had once felt like a threat was now empowering. "Just a step," she whispered under her breath. "One step." Her heart swelled. Even as she battled the tempest within, she felt the unmistakable call of the music. The tango wasn't merely a dance. It was a celebration of life's highs and lows, of heartache intertwined with joy. With renewed clarity, she approached the stage, her feet gliding over the polished wooden floor. The crowd murmured, but she silenced their gaze. Ella could feel her pulse drop into rhythm with the tempo of the music, each beat sending a thrill through her limbs. As the spotlight bathed her in its glow, an intoxicating rush coursed through her veins. She began to move cautiously at first, a hesitant foot forward. Yet with every step she harnessed the feelings swirling within her. Fear, hope, determination, and the unmistakable love for her daughter. The dance was clumsy at moments. The memory of long distances, of weights carried on weary shoulders flickered in and out, but Ella did not stop. Instead, she smiled. Each turn and every pivot became a declaration, a truth spoken through movement. In that moment, she was alive, raw, real. She was not just a single mother or a diner worker. She was Ella, the dancer, reclaiming her story through sweat, emotion, and the wild embrace of the tango. As she reached the crescendo of the performance, the room erupted into applause, but Ella's heart soared far above the noise. This was not just a dance, it was a metamorphosis. She had ventured into the light, stepped through her own shadows, and found not just herself but the promise of uncharted potential. But as the lights dimmed and the music faded, a chilling thought settled in the pit of her stomach. This was just the beginning. The echo of applause faded, and a new fear nestled in its place. Could she sustain this new version of herself once the curtains fell? Tomorrow the world would expect more. Would she be ready to confront it? As dawn broke, Ella's world was painted in soft hues of morning light. Yet the early hours brought little solace. The applause from the night before lingered in her mind, but so did the uncertainty that had crept back in. She faced the mirror, her reflection a mix of exhilaration and dread. The vibrant glow of her dance echoed in her heart, but would it hold against the relentless demands of her everyday life? Her day began with an ordinary routine, yet it felt as if everything had shifted beneath her feet. As she prepared breakfast for Sarah, who was still bleary-eyed and yawning, Ella found herself planning her next move. She needed to turn this famous, fleeting moment into a tangible reality. How could she blend her newfound confidence with the daily grind of work and motherhood? "Mom, can you help me with my math?" Sarah's voice pulled Ella from her thoughts, and she noticed the sparkle in her daughter's eyes, an energy that stoked the fire of determination inside her. Ella smiled, a genuine one, as she took Sarah's books from the table. The simplicity of the request reminded her that the path ahead would require the same sorts of strategic thinking and patience she practiced in dance, but different battles awaited her at the diner. The early shift was buzzing with familiar chaos, snappy orders, the clinking of dishes, and the grumbling of regulars. Yet today, Ella approached her tasks with a renewed sense of purpose. Every moment behind the counter became a dance of its own, a choreography of efficiency and grace. She discovered a rhythm even amidst the cacophony. "Hey Ella, you were great last night," her co-worker Jake complimented, as he passed her a fresh pot of coffee. "Thanks, Jake, it was freeing," she replied, feeling the burgeoning warmth of encouragement envelop her like a soft blanket. But beneath the surface of this routine, doubts persisted. Could she juggle the life of a diner waitress and maintain the essence of a dancer? The clarity she felt on stage seemed fragile against the mundane pressures outside those walls. Each day seemed to have its own set of demands, threatening to pull her back into the shadows of her former self. It was the regulars' chatter that distracted her, a conversation about an upcoming dance class swirling around her. "I heard Anita is teaching tango at the community center," one patron exclaimed. Ella's heart quickened, the prospect both alluring and terrifying. Could she take that leap? The idea haunted her throughout the day. As the sun began to set, painting the diner in warm, fading light, Ella's resolve hardened. She refused to let fear keep her from pursuing something she loved. Gritting her teeth against the embarrassment that clung to her, she decided to enroll in that class. It was time for her to cultivate this passion rather than let it linger as a fleeting moment of triumph. Sitting next to Sarah at dinner, Ella's excitement poured forth. "I'm going to take tango lessons," she announced, her voice steady, as she watched her daughter's eyes widen. "Can I come watch?" Sarah asked, eagerness unmistakable. "Of course, sweetheart. I want you to see me dance." As Sarah beamed, Ella felt the weight of her decision sink in. Tomorrow, she would step into that class not just as a student but as a mother setting an example, a beacon of inspiration for her daughter. The woman on stage wasn't merely a vision, she was becoming a reality. Yet a sliver of tension gnawed at the edges of her excitement. What if the tension of expectations overshadowed this new journey? That question lingered, festering and challenging her resolve. But Ella found herself invigorated by the uncertainty, driven to chase this dream. She could either become a victim of her circumstances or forge a new path, one step at a time. The dance had begun. What would it reveal as she dared to open the next door? Each choice would lead her deeper into the unknown, and as she prepared for the first class, Ella faced a crucial turning point. Would she embrace the challenges and find her way, or would the daunting prospect of failure still loom large? The morning sun filtered through the kitchen window, casting a golden hue over the breakfast table. Ella inhaled deeply, grounding herself before the day began. Today was the day she plunged headfirst into the tango class, an act that felt both radical and liberating. She glanced at Sarah, who was happily munching on her toast, oblivious to the internal storm brewing in her mother. "Are you excited, Mom?" Sarah asked, her voice bright and innocent, a spark of enthusiasm that lightened Ella's heart. "Very excited, sweetheart," Ella replied, masking her trepidation with a bright smile. But as the clock ticked closer to the class, apprehension crept in, fraying her composure. She recalled all the moments of self-doubt, the times she had stepped back from opportunities, weighed down by fear or the belief that she was unworthy. Remembering those days, Ella steeled herself. Today she was not just fighting her own ghosts. She was modeling courage for Sarah. Work at the diner sped by in a blur of activity. She poured coffee, attended to orders, and shared laughter with coworkers, but her mind was focused elsewhere, on the dance floor waiting for her at the community center. It was a mixture of dread and excitement, an unfamiliar cocktail of emotions swirling in her gut. "Ella, you in there?" Jake waved a hand in front of her face, snapping her out of her daze. "Sorry, I was just thinking," she muttered, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. "My guess is you're thinking about tango, right?" He grinned knowingly. "Something like that," she confessed. "Hey, don't overthink it. Just dance like no one's watching. You'll be fine," he encouraged, and his words echoed with unexpected reassurance. With every passing moment, Ella prepared mentally for her first class. Visions of herself stepping onto the dance floor, heart pounding, filled her mind. What if she tripped or forgot the steps? What if she embarrassed herself in front of the others? But every fear was immediately countered by the thought of how her daughter would be watching, absorbing every bit of courage she could muster. As her shift ended and she slipped on her well-worn sneakers, Ella felt like a performer about to take the stage. The drive to the community center was filled with a cacophony of doubts and a hesitant excitement. When she finally parked, a flood of uncertainties washed over her. Could she really do this? With a deep breath, she stepped inside, greeted by the sound of laughter and music. A few other students milled about, stretching and chatting, their energy palpable. Her heart raced as she scanned the familiar faces. Some were new, some schooled in dance, but there was a common thread that tied them all together: the pursuit of joy through movement. "Hi, you must be Ella." A cheerful voice broke through her reverie. It was Anita, the instructor, her demeanor as welcoming as her smile. Ella felt an instant connection. This was the kind of energy she craved. "Welcome. We're just about to start." As the music began, every nerve in her body came alive. Ella stepped onto the floor, unsure but determined to embrace the chaos and beauty of the dance. She fumbled through the first few steps, but instead of shame, a liberating thrill surged through her. There were seasoned dancers around her, yet she felt an unexpected clarity. Her own rhythm was unique, and she was worthy of taking up space in this moment. With each movement, she shook off layers of self-doubt, rediscovering fragments of the passionate dancer she once was. The music enveloped her, awakening memories buried beneath the weight of responsibilities. Yet, above all, she danced for Sarah, for the little girl who looked up to her and would learn that vulnerability was the pathway to strength. As the class wound down, Ella felt elated and exhausted. She had wrestled with fear, but more importantly, she had danced. Leaving the center, she felt exhilaration coursing through her veins, igniting every part of her vast potential. Yet, a whisper of doubt lingered. Could this newfound sense of belonging endure in her everyday life? The real challenge had only just begun, and her mind spun with thoughts of what lay ahead. What would it take for her to integrate this vibrant part of herself into the fabric of a life filled with routines and expectations? In that moment, Ella realized that the dance was only the beginning. Challenges awaited her beyond the dance floor. Challenges that would test her resolve and redefine her identity. But the time had come to face them, and as she looked to the horizon, Ella understood. In stepping out of her comfort zone, she had already transformed, laying the groundwork for the next act of her life. Would she truly embrace this journey? The following week unfolded in a whirlwind of activity and introspection. The excitement of her first tango class lingered in Ella's veins, propelling her forward as she juggled work at the diner and her responsibilities as a mother. Each evening, after tucking Sarah into bed, Ella found herself revisiting those dance steps in the solitude of her living room, transforming her modest space into a sanctuary of movement. There was a newfound rhythm in her life, one that blended work and passion. The diner was peppered with laughter and warmth, yet Ella's heart danced to a different tune. Every idle moment, every flicker of a quiet afternoon, was now overshadowed by thoughts of what she would learn next. Her excitement, however, unfurled simultaneously with concern. Could she really keep this momentum going? How long before reality sunk in, crushing this essence of joy she had just discovered? As the next tango class approached, Ella was met with an unforeseen conundrum. The instructor had announced a small performance for the advanced students in 2 weeks. While she knew she wasn't quite at that skill level, something within her stirred at the idea of standing on a stage again, a place she had long forgotten. The clash of eagerness and fear painted her thoughts in shades of doubt. She recalled those countless affirmations she gave herself about being brave, about modeling resilience for Sarah. Yet, as she practiced, she often faltered. The more she aimed to push herself, the more her old insecurities clawed their way to the surface. After one particularly challenging class, as sweat dripped from her brow, she confronted Anita, her voice shaking slightly. "I want to perform, but I'm not sure I'm ready. I've only just started dancing again." Anita's reassuring smile piqued her interest. "Ella, every dancer has to start somewhere. It's not about perfection. It's about sharing a part of yourself with others. You have something unique to offer." Those words lingered with her, embedding themselves within her psyche. As she departed, Ella felt a flicker of determination. She realized she could no longer dismiss the persistent urge to showcase her passion. It was essential not just for her, but for Sarah. The days leading up to the performance were a blend of fervent practice and erratic waves of self-doubt. Each one-on-one practice with a partner thrust her out of her comfort zone. She tumbled, stumbled, and found herself rebounding from the ground, each misstep illuminating misunderstandings she had held about her abilities. "You are not just a mother," the nagging voice countered. "You are a dancer." Each run-through redefined her understanding of herself, blurring the delineation between her roles and igniting a profound transformation. On the night before the performance, as she looked in the mirror, Ella saw not a hesitant woman overwhelmed by her insecurities, but rather a brave spirit convincing herself that it was okay to be vulnerable in front of others. That drive became her essence. "Tomorrow I will dance," Ella whispered to her reflection, feeling the weight of those words settle in her heart. As she practiced her routine one last time, determination coursing through her, another thought struck her. How far could she really go? The stage would be a defining moment, but beyond it lay every challenge she unconsciously sidestepped in life. Could she defy the boundaries that had confined her for so long? It was time to transcend mere self-expression. It was about rediscovering her essence. And in that realization, the crux of the matter crystallized. Who she was bound not by her past, but by the future she was capable of forging. As Ella drifted into a restless sleep, a question reverberated in her mind. Would the stage magnify her journey of transformation, or would it unravel her newfound sense of self? Tomorrow would reveal all. The spotlight sliced through the dim light of the small studio, illuminating Ella as she stepped onto the makeshift stage. The hushed murmurs of the audience resonated in her ears, each heartbeat painting a thick canvas of anticipation and dread. She focused on the rhythm of her breath, grounding herself in what she had worked so hard to achieve. With the music swelling around her, Ella's feet began to move, transporting her from the nerves that threatened to bind her. Each step was an echo of the practices she had endured, every turn a testament to the vulnerability she had fought to embrace. This wasn't merely a performance. It was the culmination of her evolution, a descent into deeper waters where her fears mingled with her newfound strength. As she glided across the floor, sensations rushed through her. The exhilaration of movement intertwined with the stark reminder of her doubts. Would Sarah be proud? Would anyone see the dancer or just the mother stepping out of her comfort zone? The thought propelled her, fueling a surge of energy. She was not just here to dance. She was here to reclaim her joy, to stand on this stage as a reminder to herself of the tenacity that lay beneath her surface. She had spent years identifying herself solely as a mother and waitress, but tonight, she was reclaiming a part of her identity that had slipped away. Each spin became a celebration of resilience, each gesture a bow to the facets of her life that had made her who she was. Suddenly, the memories of isolation and fear at the diner melted away, transforming into an empowerment she could feel rooting her feet to the ground. As Ella completed the routine, she sensed the audience, their eyes glinting with appreciation, clapping and cheering. She felt their support wrapping around her as warmly as the embrace of the dance itself. Her nerves dissipated, replaced by an overwhelming sense of belonging. In that moment, she was more than just a woman on stage. She was a tangible expression of triumph over self-doubt. But as her dance came to an end, the applause ringing in her ears, an unsettling thought shadowed the victory. The applause was fleeting, lasting only a moment. What awaited her outside the sanctuary of the stage? Would the harsh light of reality dim the glow she felt pulsing within? With the music fading, she took a bow, feeling both exhilarated and raw. As she left the stage, she was met with Anita's approving nod. But beyond that lay a life riddled not just with triumph, but with the undercurrents of obligation. The weight of motherhood tugged at her, the responsibilities that loomed like specters in the corners of her newly illuminated world. Back home, after tucking Sarah in, Ella sat in the stillness of her living room, the triumph of the evening quickly morphing into introspection. What did performance mean in the grand scheme of her life? Could she sustain this balance between being a mother, a waitress, and a dancer? The echoes of applause still reverberating in her mind underscored a deeper anxiety. Was this dance a pivotal chapter, or simply an ephemeral moment in the narrative of her life? What lay ahead tangled with deep-rooted fears and uncharted paths. She held the memory of her performance close, but a deeper uncertainty gnawed at her. Would this spark of transformation lead to a brighter future, or plunge her further into chaos? She was poised on the brink of a revelation, one that would test every fiber of her being. As the night stretched into dawn, Ella contemplated her next steps. What would she do to forge a life that celebrated every facet of who she was? Or would the fear of failing as a dancer entwine with her role as a mother, perpetuating a cycle of self-doubt? The stakes had never been higher, and Ella was finally ready to confront not just her past but the boundaries of her future. The question lingered. Would she embrace the dance of failure and triumph alike, or would she retreat into the shadows? A new journey awaited, and the stage, both literal and metaphorical, was set for another kind of performance. Ella awoke to the morning sun streaming through her window, casting a warm glow on the room that felt both familiar and strange. The residue of last night's performance clung to her, a sweet reminder of the person she had dared to be. Yet the mundane responsibilities of the day lingered thick in the air, threatening to pull her back into the shadows she thought she had escaped. As she brewed coffee, her thoughts spiraled into a restless loop. The applause echoed in her mind, a chorus that urged her to maneuver between two worlds. A twinge of anxiety surfaced. Could she maintain this delicate balance of identities? She had tasted the liberation of movement on stage, and yet everyday life felt like quicksand, pulling her back with each checklist of obligations that demanded her attention. After a few sips of coffee, she took out her phone and scrolled through images of her performance. The visuals stirred an ember of determination within her soul. She had not only danced, she had manifested her aspirations, even if just temporarily. Every twirl that the crowd witnessed was testament to her tenacity. But now, how could she transform that moment into sustained action? The uncertainty of that question gnawed at her. She glanced at the clock. Time was slipping away, and soon she would need to transition her focus back to her daughter. It was time to plan. Today would not be filled with passive reflection. Instead, she would harness her energy and devise a strategy that intertwined her roles as a mother and a dancer. A synchronized dance that might just carry them both towards something more fulfilling. With purposeful resolve, Ella headed to her laptop and began researching local dance classes for adults. Imagining herself among other like-minded individuals, she started to pencil in options on a notepad. Each class became a potential new opportunity, a way to fuel not only her passion but also to bring a sense of community and normalization to her journey. While she immersed herself in this search, insecurities began to creep back. What if the classes were too demanding? What if time slipped away from her again, like sand through her fingers? What if her attempts at juggling her roles failed miserably? Doubt circled like a hawk, aimed to prey on her newly blossoming aspirations. As she scrolled through testimonials, a particular sentence caught her eye. Dancing connects you to your true self. It was a simple phrase, but it struck a deep chord. She realized that embracing the uncertainty was inherently part of the dance she was now committed to. Perhaps every stumble and misstep was just another turn on her journey, one that she had to take authentically toward her dreams. Fueled by inspiration, she penned a note to Anita, sharing her thoughts and ideas. She asked if they could brainstorm ways to collaborate, not just for her but perhaps to lead recreational workshops for mothers who were seeking a similar reclamation of identity. The idea fluttered within her like a butterfly, delicate but powerful in its potential. This could evolve into something transformative, fostering connections with others who might be struggling in the same way. After sending the email, a sense of exhilaration washed over her, accompanied by the flicker of fear born from vulnerability. Ella knew that confronting her aspirations meant risking failure, yet she was ready to step out onto the edge of this new stage. But as she prepared to delve deeper into planning her future endeavors, a sudden knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. The unexpected urgency caught her off guard. Who could it be? Shifting gears would mean confronting whatever this new challenge might entail, a fresh note of tension surging through her. With heart racing, Ella opened the door, unaware that what lay beyond would hold the key to unlocking an entirely new chapter in her life. Would she be ready to face whatever came flying her way? Ella opened the door, the hinges creaking slightly, revealing a stranger on her doorstep. A man in a crisp, tailored suit, who exuded an air of confidence mingled with urgency. His deep-set eyes surveyed her, assessing both her presence and the surroundings, as if he were reading the very fabric of her life. "Ella Reynolds?" he asked, voice steady and authoritative. "Yes?" She felt the flutter of anxiety twist in her stomach, the faint echoes of all her insecurities swirling like shadows in the corners of her mind. He extended a business card towards her, the name Lucas Devlin emblazoned on it. "I'm a talent scout. I saw your performance last night. You're exceptional." Her breath hitched. Could this be the break she had been searching for? Yet the moment bubbled with suspense and a myriad of questions flickered through her mind. "I'm not sure. I have a life here. Responsibilities. I'm a mother." Ella stumbled over her words, trying to frame her reality against his glowing praise. Lucas smiled, seeming to grasp her hesitation. "I understand, but you have a unique gift. It would be a shame to let it go unnoticed. There's an exceptional opportunity coming up, an audition for a performance that could change everything." And there it was, the lure of the stage again, shimmering just out of reach but within her grasp if she dared to stretch for it. The conflicting roles she inhabited collided within her: mother, dancer, woman seeking to reclaim her identity. Would she betray her daughter's needs in pursuit of her own selfish aspirations? "Ella," he pressed gently, stepping a bit closer. "This isn't about abandoning your responsibilities. It's about embracing who you are. When you shine, those around you, especially your daughter, will feel that light too." His words resonated within her, igniting confrontational thoughts about the choices she needed to make. Part of her wanted to slam the door, to crawl back into the comfort of routine and certainty, while another part craved the thrill of discovery. "Can I take some time to think?" she finally managed, the intensity of the moment crashing over her like an unpredictable tide. "Absolutely," Lucas replied, his demeanor courteous yet persistent. "But the opportunity won't wait. We're speaking to other talents, and the audition is in 2 weeks." He turned to leave, but paused, glancing back at her with an intensity that made her heart race. "Don't let fear dictate your choices, Ella. It can be electrifying to take that leap." As he walked away, she felt the weight of his words settle heavily on her shoulders. The choice loomed like a spotlight on stage, brightly illuminating the duality of her existence. Should she throw herself into potential hardship, risk disrupting the balance she had fought to maintain in her life? In her mind, she envisioned the palpable joy she experienced while dancing, the rush of freedom girded by unwavering passion. But she also envisioned the chaos it could cause in her small family's routine. Did pursuing this audition mean she was valuing her aspirations over her daughter's stability? How would that affect their bond? The tension wrapped around her like a vice, every scenario playing out like a rerun of her doubts. Ella sat down at her kitchen table, a blank notepad before her, and opened her laptop, staring at the blinking cursor as if waiting for her decision to materialize. In that moment of solitude, something flickered within her, a determination that began to bubble up, mixing with fear, yet demanding acknowledgement. How could she not try? What message would she impart to her daughter about chasing dreams, should she let fear persist? But before she could scribble down her thoughts, her phone chimed, an incoming message from Anita. "Let's meet. I have an idea that could change everything." A secret world awaited within those words, filled with intrigue and uncertainty. The dance of her life was about to take a new turn, but would it be toward fulfillment or chaos? With resolve rekindled, Ella knew she had choices to confront. The time had come to face the complex labyrinth of her heart's desires. What would she choose? Ella's fingers hovered above her laptop's keyboard, her breath held tight in her chest as she processed Anita's message. The thought of meeting her friend sent ripples of anticipation through her veins, intertwining excitement with dread. Anita was more than a confidant. She was a fierce believer in Ella's potential, always pushing her to step beyond her fears. What new path would she propose? The once familiar kitchen, filled with the lingering aroma of breakfast, felt like a confining space, a reminder of responsibilities that ebbed and flowed with each passing minute. Ella stood up, paced the small area as she relived her encounter with Lucas, replaying the gravity of his insights that gnawed at her conscience. How long had she let her dreams settle into the background, merely a whisper beneath the daily clamor of parenting? Grasping her phone, she felt the need to confirm the meeting. Before she could second-guess, she texted back, "Yes. When and where?" The response came swiftly. "My place this afternoon. I'll have tea." Ella nodded to herself, already planning the afternoon as a chance to explore what options lay before her. She put on a pot of coffee, the routine grounding her momentarily in a world she understood. Yet, as the coffee brewed, her mind wandered off the edge of her usual routine, imagining a different life, one where she danced freely with abandon, where her daughter watched her shine and resonated with that light. By the time the clock ticked to 2, Ella had swapped her restless energy for determined focus. Her decision to pursue the audition now battled passionately against the security of her current existence. Was it only the prospect of fame and recognition that excited her, or was there something deeper at play? At Anita's apartment, the atmosphere was warm and inviting. Family photos lined the walls, each moment captured, illuminating the love and chaos that accompanied life's unpredictable dance. Anita, in a vibrant dress that swirled around her like confetti, greeted Ella with an enthusiastic hug. "I'm so glad you came. I've been thinking about how you can turn this moment into something transformative." They settled on the couch, the clinking of teacups punctuating Anita's vibrant energy. "I have connections in the performing arts community. I believe you're not just a great dancer. You shine when you're on stage. I want to help you get noticed," she said, her eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. "But what if it doesn't work out?" Ella's voice trembled, underscored by uncertainty. "What about my daughter? What if this turns into chaos?" Anita leaned in closer, her expression imploring. "Ella, consider this. The chaos could be part of the beauty. Your daughter will grow up seeing you chase your dreams, not just the dreams of motherhood. Isn't that a legacy worth fighting for?" There it was again, the performative dichotomy she felt pressed against her heart. But Anita's words resonated like a beacon, illuminating the path that stretched before her. To pursue her passion could mean opening a door to a world filled with possibilities, provided she learned to dance with uncertainty instead of allowing it to overwhelm her. As they spoke, layers of fear peeled away, revealing a core of strength that Ella had not acknowledged in years. Not only was this about an audition, it was about claiming her life back, reasserting her identity as an artist and a mother. She began to see how this journey might fulfill not only her own ambitions but also model a resilient spirit for her daughter, a legacy of courage. "What's the first step?" Ella asked, a fire igniting within her, feeling the weight of the decision press her forward. Anita grinned, her excitement palpable. "Let's start with a plan. I know people who can carve out space for you to practice and refine your work. You're going to need to prepare." But as they plotted, a new fear whispered insistently. What if when she took that leap she stumbled into the abyss, risking everything she held dear? Her heart raced, caught between the exhilarating pull of opportunity and the gnawing doubt of failure. In that delicate balance, Ella felt the familiar tension of her life, a dance between pursuing her own desires and nurturing the love she held for her daughter. What if reclaiming her identity altered the very fabric of their relationship? The answers felt just outside her grasp, dangling like the notes of a restless melody. And as the sun dipped lower, casting shadows in Anita's living room, Ella knew the choices ahead would shape her future. As she drove home later, the weight of decisions loomed, leaving her exhilarated yet apprehensive. Would she embrace the call to audition and reignite her dreams, or would she retreat into the security of her routine? The way forward was uncertain, and the dance of choices creaked under the pressure of both fear and hope. Ella felt something shift. Would this be the moment she transformed her fears into a powerful rhythm? The question remained, Could she truly step into the spotlight without losing the pieces of herself that mattered most? The sun rose slowly, casting warm rays into Ella's kitchen as she sat at the table, a steaming cup of coffee in hand. Today felt monumental. The air buzzed with a palpable energy that pushed her toward decision. She glanced at the floor where her dance shoes lay, not just a reminder of who she was, but the emblem of who she aspired to be. The audition call lingered heavily in her mind, its thrill sparking both excitement and apprehension. As she picked up her phone to check the time, her gaze drifted to the calendars on the wall, each marking another day of sacrifices, routines, and responsibilities. Today, however, was different. Today, Jessica would witness her mother dance not for self-indulgence but for inspiration. "Mom, are you ready?" Sarah's innocent question shattered Ella's tentative thoughts, drawing her back to the present. "Almost, sweetheart. I just need to finish my coffee," Ella replied, her tone light but her heart racing. She felt a swirl of emotions, anxiety, hope, and a fierce sense of motivation fueled by her daughter's presence. Each sip was a coaxing reminder of the passion she had rediscovered, one that would now be shared, not hidden behind the veil of doubt. Once they were bundled up to leave, stepping into the crisp morning air, Ella felt the weight of the decision she had made. She would pursue the audition. This wasn't merely an escape. It was affirmation for herself, and a promise to her daughter that aspirations could flourish even in the midst of chaos. As they walked hand in hand towards the community center, Ella's thoughts danced with the music she would soon embrace on stage. The lessons she had learned transcended the dance floor. She was woven into every step, a manifestation of hard-earned courage and determination. With each class leading up to the audition, she became acutely aware of her transformation. The fumbled steps of her first lesson gradually evolved into movements infused with flair and confidence. The applause she'd received had shaped her into something more than a performer. It spurred her on as a mother interlaced with artistry, demonstrating to Sarah that vulnerability was a conduit for strength. The day of the audition unfolded like a vivid tapestry. The theater was grand, awe-inducing, a carefully curated space where artists gathered to share their gifts. Ella stood backstage, heart racing as she adjusted her costume, feeling the lingering warmth of support and love from Sarah, who sat in the audience, her face glowing with anticipation. Overcoming all the fears that had once threatened her artistry, Ella had arrived. When her name was called, she took a deep breath and stepped into the bright spotlight. The energy of the music filled the silence she had encountered for so long, coaxing her into movement. Her dance told a story, every pivot imbued with the struggles she had faced and overcome. Each turn mimicked her journey through doubt into self-esteem. The audience was no longer a faceless entity. They became her witnesses, her supporters, the audience whom she would share her spirit with. Every note resonated through her body, revealing a new layer of Ella. Mother, dancer, dreamer. As she completed her routine, Ella felt a surge of empowerment that eclipsed all previous fears. With one final flourish, she finished, standing in the spotlight, breath heavy, but victorious. The applause erupted, vibrant, and the loudest it had ever been. For the first time, she didn't feel like she was dancing behind a mask of expectations. She was raw, authentic, and undeniably herself. Later, as she exited the stage, the talent scout Lucas approached her, his gaze confident. "Ella, you've got something special," he affirmed, leading to an invitation to join the upcoming production, solidifying her transition from aspiration to achievement. In the weeks that followed, as rehearsals began, a new reality took shape. Ella balanced her roles with newfound authenticity, infusing her motherly duties with the joy she had reclaimed as a dancer. The demands were immense, but so was the satisfaction of fulfilling both parts of her identity. Each rehearsal not only honed her craft but strengthened her resolve, embodying the duality she had once feared, both mother and artist flourishing together. And sitting in the audience during performances, Sarah's eyes sparkled with pride. Ella had become a living example of triumph, showing her daughter that fears can be transformed into achievements, and passions need not be diminished by responsibilities. Tonight, as Ella tucked Sarah into bed after an exhilarating performance. She realized that she had accomplished more than she could have ever imagined. With a heart swelling with contentment, she whispered, "We can chase our dreams together, can't we?" Sarah replied, her voice soft yet certain. "Always, Mommy. Always." With dreams now tangible and balanced within her reach, Ella smiled, knowing she had not only conquered her fears, but she had created a legacy of courage and inspiration for her daughter. If there was one thing she had learned, it was this. Every step forward was a step toward both fulfillment and love. Now go and take a moment. You need to subscribe now to ensure you're the first to witness these transformative narratives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others find inspiration too. Comment below with your reactions and theories about how Ella's journey can inspire your own. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with 5 friends who could benefit from this powerful story of overcoming. It'll mean the world to us.